Hi everybody, welcome to Paper Wishes weekly webisodes. I'm Lene Gehrig, and today from Hunkydory Crafts, these Moonstone intricate edges cutting dies are amazing. I've got 4 different ones for Christmas. I'm going to tell you all about it, show you how they work, and it makes beautiful cards like this one. I have lots more to show you, so come back and play with us. So for this first card, this is the poinsettia garland. And as you can see here, I did some cutting away on the poinsettia here. But before we get into this card, I want to show you how these dies work. First tip right off, I left all of my little pieces, see the white areas in there, from die cutting. And I wanted to show you a tip. I was at home and I forgot to bring home one of these little die brushes. So I spent a lot of time with my little pokey tool evacuating all these areas. So I just wanted to remind you guys, I'll be taking this home. Definitely with intricate dies, using a die brush will save you a lot of time. So definitely worth just that investment if you're loving dies and you want to use them, especially if you're using with things like cardstock or glitter cardstock specifically. Okay, and you just go over them like that and it starts to just take all of that out of there. Now you still have to use a little pokey tool a little bit, I found, you know, for the really tiny little holes, but that just saves so much time. So there's my first tip, okay? Nothing wrong with these dies. These dies cut beautifully, but if I'd only had this, right? All right, so this is what this die, let's bring it back in. This is what this die looks like this. Now, intricate edges are meant to go on your card. First of all, these are all either 6 inches or slightly under 6 inches, okay? And we're gonna measure each one of these just to make sure. I don't think there's any over 6 inches, if I'm remembering correctly. This one is like almost 5 7/8, but just a tiny bit under. So it will fit through your Big Shot die cutting machine or your Gemini Junior, okay? So that's great. So you would just, I prefer to cut my card down. This is a 6.5 by 5 inch card. So I would just cut this down to just under 6 inches. But anyway, they don't have a die line up at the top, okay? So that means that you can place them on your card. You'd open it up like that, and you can place it up near the fold. You could place it way down at the bottom. Okay, and then you, of course, tape that down and then run it through your die cutting machine. What I have found when you do this is because they are very intricate and they do take a lot of shimming, okay, because you want that, especially if you're using like glitter cardstock and stuff, that you can get an impression right down here, okay? So I like to have them up a little bit closer to the top, or what I did here is I cut this from suede paper, and then I glued it to my card front. All right, that way you're not getting any impression. Suede cuts beautifully, right? It's just like butter, but even there you can see a little bit, there's a little bit of impression. So I'm gonna give you some little troubleshooting tips as we go along today so that you can make sure that you're not wasting time and you're getting beautiful results. All right, so we talked about the die, we talked about the die brush. So this is an example of how this die would look if you just cut this out of white cardstock, okay? It's got some areas here that you could even lift that are not connected a little bit right there, and the leaves, it allows just that little bit of dimension on your card, which is just gorgeous. Look at that. Now, I wanted to also show you that you can cut it from the front of your card, just like this, okay? And it's beautiful. You can cut it from the front of your card, you can line your card with cardstock or any kind of pattern paper really, and then glue it right there at the fold, and then you could have a card like this. Beautiful, gorgeous. I didn't make my cards that way today. I almost exclusively die cut them and then glued them to the card front. That was just a preference. I found my results were cleaner, and that would be my recommendation. So once again, perfectly acceptable. You will find that you need to do a little shimming with these, And here's just an example of one of the shims. Just because they're so intricate, they really do cut beautifully, but there's all kinds of little holes and things like that. So we have some solutions for that as well. So let's talk about what I used on this card. As I said, this is 5 inches, and then I cut it down to just under 6 inches wide. I die cut my original image here. This is my favorite suede this season. This is olive suede paper. If you're not familiar with suede paper, it is suede, like fabric on one side and then paper on the back. It cuts beautifully, you guys. And then I use this pack of red Miri cardstock. I think there's 10 sheets in here. And I went ahead and die cut that image again. And then I just used my little scissors, grabbing little scissors. And once this was cut from the Miri cardstock, I just went around and I just cut that away from the rest of the die. And it was very quick to do. You're just following the leaf pattern to cut that away. And then I just glued that to the center, okay? That's of course after I glued my suede to the card front. I also wanted to show you, because I cut it out of red glitter as well. And then I just kind of debated which one to use, but they're both gorgeous. I'll link both the red Miri and the red glitter down below the video. Everything's gonna be down below the video. And then we've got this Creative Expressions cutting die. This is Rejoice in the Season. It's the little sweet cutting die, cut beautifully from the red Miri. And then I just added some gold thin line dazzle stickers along the top and the bottom. And then right here, just a little cluster of some little flat back pearls. And there's some gold in here. Yellow would work as well really nicely. And that was it. So that was a pretty fast card to make. I really wanted to do something that was kind of quick to do. And to kind of have a solution of like, well, what do you do when you cut the image from green suede and then you have a green poinsettia? Well, yeah, you can cut it again from red and then have that sort of two-tone look there. All right, the next one, let's tidy this up so I can find everything. All right, so this next one is the snowflake. This is Snowflake Flurry. It's gorgeous. That's what this die looks like right here. From this one, I cut it, so I cut my card down. Let's measure. Yeah, this is also just under 6 inches wide. So for this one, I cut my card down, so it is just under 5 inches, and covered my card with silver Miri cardstock. Gorgeous. It's very silvery, very mirror-like. In fact, I'm pretty sure if I tilted this just right, you'd see the camera above me and I'd be like a mirror. And then I also I used the die to cut the image from blue glitter cardstock. And as I said, blue glitter cut very well, but it does need some shimming for that, okay? So yeah, use your shimming, use your cardstock bits and scraps for shimming, but also, you guys, wanted to remind you that we have this self-healing cutting deck. It's a cutting mat. It's just a thick cutting mat that it's really, really nice when you put your cutting die and your paper or cardstock on here and you run it through your machine. It cuts beautifully, especially with the glitter cardstock. I just wanted to remind you that we have that. And then I added some silver jewel border dazzle stickers. You can see those right there along the top and bottom edge. Now, when using border dazzle stickers, sometimes the thin line ones don't stick great to glitter cardstock because there's not enough surface of sticker. But I have found that the jewel border dazzle stickers, they're a little bit wider, a lot of them are. Some are tiny, but I haven't had a problem with these sticking to that. All right, so then I also used for my little greeting here, this one's new, A Joyful Christmas, and then I die cut that from the blue Miri cardstock, just to add a little difference on there. And then on the inside, To You and Yours. And then I just added that little border sticker there. We've got some silver self-adhesive little studs here. These are diamond sparkles from Hunkydory. Added those there. Once again, just a quick card to make with a lot of things going on. Makes it look much more intricate and like difficult than it is, that's for sure. And that's my favorite kind of card. When people receive that card, they're like, wow, that must have taken you forever. Not really. Now, here's another one. This one is the Starry Lantern. This one, you guys, is a showstopper. This one, it took some time. It was a project, okay? I spent a couple hours on this card. Let me tell you about this one. So, first, if I can find the die, here we go. Here's the die. That's not the die. Here it is. Here's the die. And I wanted to show you how I did some paper piecing on this. So for this one, we've got the glitter cardstock on the back. And I wanted to show you first, well, I'm jumping ahead. Okay. First, I covered my card with Christmas Memories paper pack. I used this nice little ivory kind of music paper to cover my card. All right. Then I inked the edges brown. Then I die cut my image from hammered gold paper, which cuts beautifully. No shimming required. Beautiful. All right, and then I glued that to the card front. Let's talk about gluing and how we handle that. So I am a big fan of sticky specks. Here we go. And how we handle sticky specks. You have your card. Here's one just cut from black. And I'm gonna take, come on, Lene, here we go. This is a sheet filled with little dots of adhesive. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the die cut image, and we're gonna place that right there. I always like to run it off the edge a tiny little bit so that I have something to pull up on. And then you're gonna do this. You put that plastic down on top of it. I need something to hold it down. Here we go. All right, then you're going to very carefully, kind of from the thickest part of your cutting die cut image, pull that off, and now it's a sticker. And now we're going to take this, place this on the card front, just like that. And that works beautifully. Now, if you don't like sticky specks or you don't want to use those, I also recommend a little glue applicator, a little glue bottle applicator. I've shown you guys. These are wonderful. They're fine tip glue applicators. We just like to put like Cosmic Shimmer Specialist acrylic glue in them. You can put your favorite glue in them, liquid glue, and then it's so nice. You can use these on the back if you just want to add some dots to the back of this. Just takes a minute or so to get all the little points with glue, and then you can adhere it to your card. So that's a nice option as well. Okay. I don't like using glue stick because there's a pulling as you're running across that, and you can tear all those little bits. So there's a couple options for you. Now back to this. So you guys, when paper piecing, like I did on this card, so I die cut the image, and then I went and I ran just certain sections that I wanted to paper piece, okay? So this one, I just used some scrap glitter cardstock here. It's lime green. All right, so what you do is we're taking a little pokey tool. If I can find my pokey tool. It's somewhere on my desk. There it is. All right, pokey tool, very essential for this. And the glue applicator, also super important. And maybe we can zoom in on this. So we're gonna just apply some glue to those areas, and this is just a good old-fashioned paper piecing, you guys. Oops, I got that on the wrong side. You do have to remember when doing this, your image is flipped on the cutting die. So we're going to take that and we're going to just put that right on there, just like that. And then we're going to take this other one, larger bow. And yes, it's like, it takes a long time, but it's a fun activity. I sat there, listened to my podcast. If you like jigsaw puzzles, this paper piecing is for you. You could also just do things like just the bow on this card. How stunning would that be? Just doing the bow and leaving the rest black and white. You could then die cut a greeting to put on here that's also in a color. So I really went to town on this card that just had lots of colors on it. And I'm going to show you which colors I used here in a moment. But yeah, tell me what you guys think in the comments. Like, do you guys not mind taking a long time for a really special card? I would send this to another card maker who can appreciate the time and effort that it took. You know what I mean? And just a really special card that you spent extra time doing, and they can appreciate it. Okay, we're just going to finish this bow, and then I just want you to see the pop that's on here. Now, of course, I didn't use lime glitter cardstock on mine. This was just a scrap that I had, but I wanted to show you this technique. All right, so if there was any other lime that I wanted to use, like if I wanted to use the lime on the leaves or something, I would have cut the whole image, but I just wanted the bow, so I just did like a little square of scrap right there. All right, and then don't forget, this is gonna fly everywhere. Okay, so much easier than sitting here going like this, poking everything out, which is what I did a fair time doing when I was working on that at home. All right, so you guys, look, that's stunning. That is just, and it just took a few minutes to do that. So whether you're doing the whole thing like I did or little bits of it, it's just a really fun technique to do. All right, so let's talk about what's on here as far as glitter cardstock. We've got right here this blue. This is blue mix glitter cardstock. So I used that right here for this little scarf. And then this one is the red and gold mix, which I used on the bow and the candle and this little strip. I just used my paper cutter and cut a little border of that. And then, of course, on the leaves, I used that olive suede, which, as I said, this is my go-to favorite this season. And then, of course, the little berries. We've got the red glitter cardstock. So olive suede, I just used scraps to do this. Same with the berries. This is great. Paper piecing is great for using up those little scraps that you have. And then because there's so much gold on the card, I didn't want to do gold on the flame here for the candle or the stars. So I used silver Miri cardstock for that one. And that was the same one that I used, here we go, for the snowflake card. Yeah, I think I've got that. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you these. Look how amazing these are, you guys. These are gold leaf diamond sparkles, pinks and purples. I wouldn't say the pinks, I'd say reds. So I use these as reds. They go from kind of this beautiful red color all the way down to a mauve. And look, they've got this like gold flecks on them with these, it's gorgeous. So I added those right here to those stars because I didn't want to paper piece those stars. That was a little too much for me. Those little tiny triangles in there. For my greeting, love to put it along the edge. And for those, I used Christmas greeting dazzle stickers. And we have those in the script, so I used the red. And then the next card I'm going to show you, I used the Tiny Words and Phrases Christmas dazzles in the gold. So remember those. All right, so the last card I've got to show you is buried. There's so much stuff going on here. All right. There we go. Okay, so this one, you guys, this is using watercolor paper. So this die is the beautiful baubles. Here is the die. Isn't that gorgeous? And I cut this from watercolor cardstock. And then I just did a little painting with some watercolor there. So I wanted to show you, here's the one I initially did. I did not shim this well enough. And watercolor cardstock is pretty thick and pretty kind of fibrous almost. So I wanted to show you the rest of it cut beautifully, but when you got to the branches of the tree, it just did not want to evacuate there. So just wanted to tell you, definitely use some shimming on those areas. The craft pad that I showed you for the cutting and the shimming, that would work. The second time I did it, I used that. It worked really, really nicely. These are really, really intricate, especially when you're getting around those little pine boughs. So just I wanted to show you that little heads up. Oh, I'm going to use that. So for my card, once again, this is under 6 inches long for the die. And I added to the side here, this is a non-traditional Christmas color, so I wanted to use a lavender. This is a lavender dot from Dotted Duos number 2. And then once I got that glued for my border, then I just added some lavender cardstock and then glued this right on the top. But before I glued it on top, I did some painting on it. All right, so let's get the craft mat out. A couple things I want to show you about this. So for this, I just used these ink pads. These are great ink pads, you guys. These are dye-based ink pads, so it means they're water-based. They're highly pigmented, they're great. And I also just used a water brush, but you could just use like a fine tip, fine line paintbrush and some water to do this. Why I like the water brush, they come in like several in a pack, which is nice. And when you just squeeze them, the water just comes right out like that. And I just use sort of the surface of the ink pad. So this is what I did. I just kind of went like that. And then I just painted that color right on there. And then there's a cutaway part right here. So I would recommend using a little scrap of paper. Let me see if I have a scrap of paper. Yep, I do. And just lifting this up when you're painting. There we go. So that you're not getting any paint on your border. And then you can just go like that. And really, you can use that. That's just a Post-it note, but you can use that Post-it note to protect other areas so you're not over painting. Just like that. And then what I like to do is just sort of do a very light watercolor on the whole thing, and then go back over on one side and then do a very, like a dark color. It's a nice little shading technique. Like that. Okay, and then you just take and just wipe this off in between colors with a moist towel. This is just a craft baby wipe kind of deal. And that's what I did. I just went ahead and painted the whole thing. So on the branches here, I just used evergreen on the actual bough part, and then a little bit of roasted coffee on that kind of branch part. And then blue lagoon, purple velvet, and then this one is pink jelly bean, but this is the shimmer ink pad, so I don't think this is going to show on camera, but this part, this light pink, really shimmers on. So nice. Then I needed a little bit of sparkle on here, so I actually painted with this. This is Prism Glimmer Mist. So I just dipped my paintbrush in a little bit of this. I sprayed it out here and just used those on the little stars and the little hangers. And then when I was all done with my card, before I put my bow on and my jewels on, I just misted it with this. So we've got a little bit of mist right here. And it's really sparkly and pretty. And then I added some jewels. This is the blue and green version of the red pinks that I showed you. And this has also got gold leaf on these. And I just added those here. Oops, there we go. Right there. And there's those little Christmas tiny words and phrases that I showed you. And then a little, this right here came from the Gold Thin Line Dazzled. A little bow here, that came from the Velvet Shimmer Ribbon Kit, Velvet Glitter, I think. So nice, and all came together really easily, and that was really fun to paint. I enjoyed that quite a lot. If you're new to painting or watercolor painting, this is a great one to start with because it's very forgiving. All right, you guys, so we've got a fantastic money saver on all of these dies. You can also buy them individually. If you're interested in checking them out individually, then just look below the video and you'll see everything, the adhesives, the pokey tools, every single thing that I showed you is listed down below. So you can add 1 die or 2 dies and the glue, whatever you'd like. And also we have the money saver on the right-hand side of the screen. We have full color images of these. No worries if you're watching us on YouTube, look below the description box, look below the video in the description box, and you'll see a link that'll take you to this Paper Wishes webisode page. Have a look around, and you know what? Subscribe, because we do we changed that. We now do 4 to 5 videos a week, and we wouldn't want you to miss anything. A thumbs up would really help us too. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.